access isn't just opportunity, but truly serves as a lifeline. For some children, creative expression is not an extracurricular activity. It provides them with regulation, a sense of belonging, increased confidence, and it truly serves as therapy for a mind that needs a safe place to land. And when access is missing, something deeper is truly lost. Hello, everyone. This is Jody Grinwald, and I am the host of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. Some things are simply too important to be reserved for those who just can't afford them. It was out of reach for my dad as a child, and by the time he found his voice later in life, he carried the weight of what access might have changed. A deathbed regret over not having the opportunity to fully step into what you love, that just doesn't seem acceptable. That's why the Applaud Our Kids Foundation was born. Today I am joined by Melissa Grinwald, president and co-founder, and you guessed it, my sister as well, along with members of our advisory committee, as we take you inside a nonprofit here in New Jersey that is doing something uniquely different. The Applaud Our Kids Foundation provides sustained, customized access for children of all abilities, because when access is present, creative expression becomes more than art. It becomes stability, identity, and like I said, truly a lifeline. And if this conversation resonates with you, if you believe connection changes lives, I invite you to stay connected beyond this episode. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Today is the Day, Live It, and Applaud Our Kids to witness the impact in real time. Do you love to read stories of inspiration, resilience, courage, leadership? My book, Today's the Day, Live It, available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, and many other retailers, shares 31 powerful journeys of how everyday change makers, like we all are building their own tables as they go to the edge of their comfort zone. When you go to the edge of your comfort zone is when you may find yourself in the center of creating incredible impact. And if you're looking to grow your business in ways you may never have imagined, by connecting with your clients and customers in deeper, more meaningful ways that elevate both your impact and your bottom line, I would love to connect with you. I offer keynote speaking, interactive seminars, and customized workshops where I share my signature table method and teach how to use connection as a strategy, not just a value, to strengthen culture, deepen client relationships, increase loyalty, and drive sustainable growth. Because when connection is intentional, it stops being a soft skill and becomes a growth strategy. You can reach me directly at Jody, Jodi, at todayisthedayliveit.com to learn more. Now let's get into a conversation about providing access to those who need it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. I'm your host, Jody Hope Grinwald, and as I say every single week, I interview the changemakers, the inspirers, and those who are disrupting the status quo in the best way possible. And I am so excited about this specific episode. It holds a very, very special place in my heart, and I am here with my co-founder of the Zach G. Applaud Our Kids Foundation, Melissa. Hi.
Hi.
And some of our advisory committee members, Nick, Phil, Elena, and Chris. So hi, everyone.
How you doing, Jody? Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so happy.
Us.
I'm so happy. So happy to have all of you. And I also just want to always say a brief thank you to all the listeners that this podcast has now been downloaded in over 137 countries. And that is just crazy and insane. And I'm grateful in so many ways. So thank you to all the listeners, and continue to follow, share YouTube channel, Today's the Day Changemakers. And you can stream this podcast on all platforms. So I'm not going to, what I usually do is read everybody's bios, but because we have 6 of us on here, I figured it'd be a little bit easier to just kind of go around and have you tell a little bit about yourself. Now, Melissa and I, for those who are on, know this, but not everybody knows that we are not only co-founders of this foundation, but we are also sisters. And I happen to be the oldest one. So
Thankfully.
Yeah. Thankfully, exactly. Almost 5 years too. And so we started this foundation in honor of our dad. Melissa, do you want to share a little bit more about that?
So our dad, Zach G., who the foundation is named after, was an operatic tenor, but he did not know that he could even sing until he was in his 30s. He came from very humble beginnings, and his family could not afford to provide him with lessons or, even music. So when he was in his 30s, after he had us and was a little more established, he was able to take his first lesson, and he found out he was an operatic tenor from his first lesson. And he never got to be able to really perform the way he wanted. He was older, he had a family, and one of his biggest regrets before he passed away from ALS was not being able to connect to the performing arts. So what me and Jody did was we decided to create a foundation in his honor to keep his legacy alive, but also make it so that children who had that same humble beginning wouldn't be able to feel that same pain and disconnection that he did of not being able to connect to the performing arts at a young age. So that's how the foundation came about. It came about with the last $100 in his bank account. And he started the foundation for us. He doesn't even know it, but he did it. And we have reached so many children in his honor, in his legacy, but also in the legacy of just music, because music itself is a connector. And he brought that to us, and now we're bringing it to those who need it the most.
Yes, and unfortunately, it did skip a generation as well because our girls are all performers and all can sing and they can play instruments. I played instruments as a young kid, but not very well. But it did miss us, didn't it? We didn't get that
Oh, it
gene.
did. Yes. I did a little bit of acting and then that was it. So, and I cannot carry a tune like our father or our children.
Exactly. So, but what we can do is help others who, whether they can carry a tune or not, it's, if you're if your child is sitting next to someone who can afford those lessons and then you go, your child comes home and says, Mama or Dad, I really would like to take a lesson with my friend. And the mom has to turn around or dad has to turn around and say, I'm so sorry. We can't afford it. That's what we're here for in New Jersey. And there's a whole process that we go through to meet the financial needs requirements. You can go to applaudourkids.org to learn more. But along the way, we couldn't do this alone. We need to have an entire committee and sponsors and donors and supporters. And we are so grateful for those who are on today and those who couldn't make it as well to be a part of this so that we can continue to expand our reach. We started in one county. Now we're throughout the entire state of New Jersey. We're not, and I say this because that's how it was treated. We're not just two sisters who started a foundation in honor of our dad. We're two women who started a foundation to help children continue to find a way to find a creative outlet. And then along the way, we met these incredible human beings who said, you know what, you have a good idea and we appreciate it and we want to join forces with you. So I'm going to start with you, Nick. Now we'll go around the Zoom screen here. Nick Ditri, tell us about yourself and then we'll get into more about how you're connected to us.
Put me on the spot first thing in the morning. I like it. Hi, how's everybody doing? My name's Nick Ditri. I'm a multi-platinum songwriter, producer, DJ. I've done everything you could do in the music business, and that's the only thing I know how to do according to my family. Been part of many different startups across entertainment and hospitality, and I've been with Applaud Our Kids for the last, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 years or so now. And we've helped fund, I want to say, hundreds of kids over that amount of time. And it's really been a pleasure to be a part of, being raised in a, blue collar family and kind of scrapping it together over the course of my life. And my parents, thank God, they funded me to take music lessons and be able to pursue my dream. I saw plenty of kids who didn't have that opportunity. So to have this is a dream.
Thank you, Nick. That's awesome. We're going to get back to you a little bit too, because I actually think it's more than 2 years now, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You've been
Yeah, it's
stuck
crazy.
with us a little bit more than that. It's good. I'm glad it
Probably.
only feels like, I'm glad it only feels like 2 years though. So that's good. Elena, Elena Lanza. We're so happy to have you on the committee as well. Can you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. So I've been on the committee for a little bit less time than Nick. Nick, obviously brought me on. I've been in the music industry for over 25 years. That's really stating my age there. Come from a musical background. My grandmother has a very similar story to your father. So that's really what touched me about the organization. I grew up, doing vocal lessons funded by my grandmother. Went to school to be a record producer and ended up in the industry, in the business part of the industry and have been there ever since. And it's really the love of my life. I'm a music industry geek. I can basically run the back end for anything. And I'm also a mom of three, and my oldest happens to be a performer. He's a saxophonist, a trumpetist, and he's going into high school with marching band and jazz band and concert band and a million bands. So we're running all over the place. I'm playing glorified Uber in my time off from my job. So I know how expensive it is. I know what a demanding job it is, but I know how meaningful it is and how much it's meant to. When I was a kid, I spoke through music. That was my language. And, I see it with him and how much it's just let him come out of his shell and be himself. So I think it's just crazy important. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Elena. Appreciate that so much. Bill, you were clapping for Elena when she was talking about her son being in the band. So I have a feeling of a connection there as well.
Absolutely. No, hail to the brass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Phil Rita, personalized communication design services. I am in the advertising, marketing, and public relations side of things. I am not in the music industry, but I have a lifelong love of music. I think one of the things that drew me in to be an advisory board member was much like Nick's story. Family was blue collar. My father worked, nights and weekends putting in that overtime so we could afford my first trumpet. So yeah, like I said, hail to the brass. And when the locks were falling off on the trumpet case, we found a way to rivet them back in to keep making things work because we just couldn't afford to go and get a new instrument, new tools and different things. I saved up money for the mute that I was going to be using once I got further along, and from middle school band to high school band, to push my skills. I was working. I saved money from the 7C mouthpiece up to the 5C mouthpiece, just to be able to expand my ability. And really fell in love with it. Got the opportunity to move from a trumpet to a baritone horn, and really was able to find range in the lower brass instruments. And music has just always been a part of my life. So it was, I was so thrilled to be asked by you, Jody and Melissa, to be part of this advisory. I'm seeing how music is touching my kid's life. He's 6, and Dad, add that to the Spotify list. He's like starting to carve out his own genre of music. It's a little more dance music than I'd like, but he loves the classics too.
I'm offended. I'm offended at that comment.
Can't thump all the time, But the truth is, music has permeated so many parts of my life, and I'm watching how it's giving my kid a language. It's my kid was loving the halftime show, and he was bouncing around like a bean because music just lights him up, and it lights up our whole family. So music is just an amazing thing, and to bring it to kids who wouldn't otherwise have it is an amazing mission. I'm glad to be part of it.
Thank you, Phil. So appreciate that. So Chris, I saw you on the West Coast, seeing you now via the Zoom screen here. So Chris and I happen to have both been at the Grammy Awards. There's several of us who are Recording Academy members. I'm the newest out of the group here. So Chris Maltese, how are you?
I'm good, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you for having me. Yeah, I mean, my story is, I grew up in central New Jersey. I had a deep passion for music ever since I was a kid. I also could not hum a tune, couldn't play an instrument. So I kind of knew early on that I had this obsession, but I was never going to be a performer, so to speak. But yeah, that obsession only grew over time. I went from making my friends mixtapes on cassettes, for fun, to now I'm at the GM of label and artist relations over at a company called Video, which is a very large music distributor. So we work with all sorts of artists. But my career was, I started at MTV back when that was a thing. I was there for 8.5 years. You younger listeners and viewers probably have no idea what that is, but I promise you that was a cool place to be at one time. And yeah, about halfway through that time, I started managing some artists on the side. One luckily took off, and we had a top 5 pop hit. And so I left and started a management company, which eventually I partnered with a much larger company called Primary Wave, which is also a publisher. So I kind of got to learn the management game, the publishing game, started an in-house label there, and then eventually left to get into the distribution world as the head of the US for a company called Believe. And now I'm here at Video. All of that said, I've been able to kind of create a fairly nice life through the arts, and really using passion as sort of like that driving force. And now as a father, I can see it in my daughter as well. I mean, she is a performer as much as I never could be. That girl is, whether she's singing or doing her homework, I mean, whether she's in the shower or she's doing her homework or she's playing a game, she's always singing, she's always dancing. Everything's a performance. She's got dance class twice a week. She's got, instruments that she's taking lessons for. So, yeah, so I really appreciate it from all angles. And when Nick introduced me to, what you guys are doing, it sort of touched home in a lot of ways. So also really happy to be here, and just a firm believer in, what the organization is looking to accomplish.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate that. In a world where trust drives decisions and relationships matter more than transactions, disconnection is something businesses simply cannot afford. I'm Jody Hope Grinwald, a leadership and connection strategist, and my work is different because I don't offer just a single framework or surface level fix. I bring an entire ecosystem built on connection with me. I work across leadership, career transition, teams, and client relationships, helping organizations rebuild trust where it may be strained and design their work so disconnection doesn't happen in the first place. Because when one link is off, it affects everything, and sustainable growth depends on keeping those connections strong. To learn more or inquire about me speaking at any of your events, reach out to me at Jody, Jodi, at todayisthedayliveit.com. I want to ask you too, because you're making other people's dreams come true by distributing their music out there into the world. They're getting their music out there. And for many of them, I'm sure there are a million stories of the excitement behind how they must feel when it finally is out there. What do you see, thinking about the kids that can't afford right now and those who are in your bucket right now? What does it give to them at this stage of their game, right? What would you say it gives, what you've seen and how it fills their bucket and how it makes you feel to see it happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about the music industry, which is fairly unique, is that there are no rules. And some people, look at these massive stars and they think, oh, they must just have been born with some extra gene or chromosome that I don't have that. Like that can't happen for me. And the reality is it can happen, and it can happen for anyone. It really takes a lot of work and a lot of skill, and you have to get lucky in some ways, and you have to build the right connections. But the beautiful thing about the music industry is that there's no like one path. If you spoke to 100 artists who quote unquote made it, you would hear 100 different stories of how that came to be and how they found success. And I think when kids get involved with music really early on and they think it's this like, far off goal that might not be attainable, once they start to get into it and they start to build confidence, you can see that their dreams are coming a little bit closer, right? And so when, somebody like in a position like mine or Elena's, where like we can help, facilitate a lot of, not necessarily it's not always kids, but I mean, even adults that are trying to do this, we can help facilitate getting them to the finish line of their goals or getting them closer to those goals. Yeah, it's ultra gratifying, but I've seen it many, many times where, a lot of what I did at MTV back in the day was interview all these artists that were coming in for this show we had, TRL. And we would talk about where they came from and how they got going. And the story was, very similar, where it started as just passion. They didn't think they could make it, but, the passion continued to grow and they kept working at it and working at it. And, eventually they found themselves in a position where things started to take off. So, yeah, it's always really inspiring to see a child get involved early and develop that passion, because the passion is only going to make them work harder. And if they work harder, they're going to build confidence. And maybe that confidence takes them into other areas of their life. So it's not always just, it's going to just stay on this music path. The confidence can help them in a variety of ways.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Nick, at one of our events, you had shared something that I just love, and you shared it when we were on Z100 as well, about what happens if there were I'm sorry?
KTU.
KTU. I'm sorry. Why do I keep
Same
saying
family.
KTU?
They're not offended.
Same
It's same
family.
family.
Thank God.
All
Thank
good.
God. You know what? We passed Elvis Duran's office. That's probably what it was. And I've been a longtime fan of both of those stations. But anyway, KTU. When you shared it on KTU as well, about what if there was no arts, what would life be like? Can you share that? I want the listeners to hear it. The way you say it is just so beautiful.
Yeah, so just to give some context, I, as part of my career, radio has been a huge part of it, and I'm still a huge advocate for it. Some people are like, dude, there's no such thing. And there's still 100 million listeners to radio every day. And 9 out of 10 households listen to music through the radio. But not to go on a radio tangent, but I felt like when we were trying to get the word out about AOK, the best way to do it would be to go to radio and some of our friends there. So KTU was nice enough to have us up to speak about AOK and the mission and what we do and spotlight the organization. And when I was there, it just kind of like occurred to me that like this building wouldn't exist without music. Like I just started, when we were doing the interview, I started thinking about the whole infrastructure of the facility we were in wouldn't exist without artists or music, and neither would have half the city, including Times Square and Broadway and everything that's tied to New York and the music scene. So I think the way I articulated it was if you took away all these things, everything from the radio station to Times Square to Broadway to the art in your house to when you go and you chill out at the end of the night and you turn on your TV. If all of it didn't exist, it would be a pretty boring place to live. And those are the things that artists bring to life, especially emerging artists and kids who want to be inspired. Look to those things to create and to draw inspiration from, to write new music and write new movies and all of that. So if we didn't fund that, if those kids didn't exist and we didn't support that craft, there would never be another generation of artists. So I think it was something along those lines that, you take all this away and none of the things that we all enjoy and love every day exist besides food. I love food, but what's food without music? So there's that.
Exactly. There is that. And I should mention, since you said food, I'll just throw this in here. A very special thank you to Lavotti's Old World
What a
Market.
segue, Jody. Jeez.
That was so good, right? You like that? Did you like that?
I like that.
Because that they did a phenomenal roundup for us in July. They raised a lot of money for us, and we're honoring them on March 19th for as the community kindness honoree. And we're grateful to Lavotti's Old World Market. They have phenomenal food there as well. So that when you said food, that's how I had to connect it right there. But they are amazing. We're going to get into that event in a minute, but I want to share something else here too. And I want you all to jump in after I mention this. Is we have seen what the arts does for children that have all levels of abilities, right? All levels. And about 38% of the kids that are part of this foundation, they are on the spectrum. Some are nonverbal, and the music is their voice. That it truly is. And we have seen them do incredible things. So Melissa, if you could give us one quick story about what we have seen, and I think all of us in some way have seen it. And then I'm going to ask all of you while she's telling that story, if there's something you want to share, a story you have seen through Applaud Our Kids that you want to share that was impactful or insightful. Melissa.
So we had a child who was nonverbal, who was a drummer, autistic, but such a sweet, beautiful soul, and you could just see it coming out of him. But his parents always said he wouldn't play in front of anyone. He wouldn't get on a stage. We have a concert every year, the Let Them Dream Big concert, and they said he wouldn't come on. But he actually did. He came and we let him see whether he wanted to actually perform, and he got on the stage and he sat at his drums and he started playing, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house because he just came to life. And for someone who won't look you in the eye, who wouldn't shake your hand, but he became this bigger than life person sitting at that drum kit. And Somebody who didn't hold hands, wouldn't look you in the eye, at the end of the finale, got up and he danced and he held people's hands and he literally looked he had girls on both sides of him and he looked them both in the eyes and they were like, telling him to come on, let's dance. And he really just did it. And his parents, his family, everyone who knew him in our town, because he's from my town, they all just started to cry. And it was one of the most beautiful moments that I've had in this foundation. There's been a lot of them, but this is one that definitely stands out just because of the fact that he was such a shy kid. Now, I see him around town all the time. He's a very different person right now. He smiles, he looks at people, he's engaging, and it's beautiful that he's emerged from this caterpillar into this butterfly, and it took just him connecting with something. We were a small part, I'm sure, of what made that emerge, but just being that small part and seeing that change just in that moment for even his family, really, they got to see, and the community got to see, children who are on the autism spectrum, they are not one-dimensional, and they can do everything that anyone else can do. They have superpowers, and their superpowers are, come out in different ways. And it was just such a beautiful thing to see. And like I said, we all cried, and I still can because it was just such a beautiful moment.
Yeah, the arts is such a voice for so many people. And, I always say this, we're not feeding the hungry. We're not housing the homeless, but we are nurturing the minds of those who need it the most and whose families just cannot make it happen for them. If you have that creative feeling within yourself and you cannot fulfill it, there's a feeling of loss. And also, one of the things that I should mention here too is that we don't just fund a child for 1 day, 1 month, 1 year. From the age of 7 to 18, if you still meet the financial needs requirements, we're the only organization in the state of New Jersey who does this. And we send them to these children to performing arts schools close to their home. In some cases, it could be a choice of theirs if the studio is willing. In others, but they all have to be pre-approved and background checked. And sometimes a child will come and want to play ukulele and then they want to dance. And we only fund one, but if they want to switch, we know they're switching because something's calling them. And when something calls us, right? Like Nick says, we get in our car, if music is calling us, we're going to turn on the radio or whatever you listen to, whatever streaming you listen to, because something's calling you. Imagine if that wasn't there. And Nick, I think you said it so well. So I want to pass this along too for anything that Elena, Phil, anybody else who wants to share something that touched you through AOK. Chris, Nick, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, like, I don't know if there's necessarily just one, but I know that, like, every time we, discuss a new applicant that comes through, I think that it's hard to not, dig into those stories and not just want to help, right? There was one I can remember last year where, if I remember it correctly, the father had reached out, was on hard times. The daughter, again, autistic, ADHD, anxiety disorder, like she was obviously going through it and had lost her mom. And what the father had said was, her joining a theater program really helped her come out of her shell and again, gave her some confidence and wanted to take more lessons to continue it. And, again, as a father, you read that and it's hard to not just want to, like, jump through the screen and say, yes, what can we do? Let's help. So I think more than just one story, though, I think just overall, every time we review these things, it's a very human, being process that we're going through as we're reading through these and we're connecting with these people on a human being level. So I just feel like every time I get, something from you guys where I see a new applicant came through and it's something for us to consider, it gets my full attention. And I think that everyone that's, on this call probably feels the same, where you just kind of understand the impact that this is not, yes, all the roundups are great and every type of way that we fundraise is great. But the act of actually receiving that sort of a gift, that's life change. That can be life changing for not just the student, but the parent who's struggling and looking for help to, you know, just wants to provide the right kind of life for their child. So I think all of these experiences are really touching and really make a difference, which is why we're all here.
Thanks, Chris. Anyone else?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention, I was talking to a friend who lives out of state, just about our mission and what we do. And I think one of the most impressive things is we don't just, our mission statement kind of distills down what we do, which we have to distill down for a mission statement, but it doesn't encapsulate all the well-rounded nature of what this organization is. We're not just funding the student for them to go and learn performing arts. It's also, what we were talking about, what I was talking about with my friend was, does the teacher get paid? And yeah, the teacher gets paid. So now we're supporting the studio as well and the whole economy of music as a whole. But it doesn't end there. Like, we have our events, we have people who are credible tied to the music industry. So as this student who just wants lessons at that point gets lessons and they get better, they're able to then tap into music distribution. They're able to tap into advice from people who are credible in the industry, even graphic design and branding, thanks to people like Phil. And it's cool because it isn't just, here's a check, help a kid, and that's it. It's a much more well-rounded, thought-out business. Credit to you guys for setting it up this way, but it feels organic. Like, it just kind of, I know it didn't just fall into place, but it feels like it fell into the place with the right people and the right system around it. That again, it doesn't feel like it's just a check to a family and that's where it ends. So props to Jody and Melissa for building that sort of culture here.
Thank you. Thank you. And that is so true, that the economic development piece of it, we do play that down too much. We need to talk more about that. And I thank you for saying that, because you are right. Many of the studios that we send the children to, they're entrepreneurs, right? They're entrepreneurs, and the kids that we're sending would never be able to cross their doorstep. And so we are funding salaries through the funds that we pay for those lessons. So well, after this Zoom, we'll talk about, and I saw Phil on the branding side shaking his head. Yes, we need to change the mission statement. Melissa and I just talked about that like 2 days
the other
ago.
day.
So it's really kind of funny you just said that. I swear you have psychic powers, Nick. But it is very true. It is so hard to encapsulate what we do and explain it, because it's way more than, like you said, a check. However, I will say this: we need as many sponsors as we possibly can have. We have had a wait list, which we've never had. This is 8 years we're in. Funds are vital in order to keep our mission, just like every other nonprofit. Every nonprofit has their thing and their mission statement, and everybody is valid and viable. And we're not saying no, but what we are saying is the arts are one of the least funded. And that is so true when it comes to helping kids in the arts. So we hope that anybody who's listening from anywhere, and we've been funded now from outside of New Jersey, all the way California and other states have funded us because of what we're doing, and we're unique. And our hope is, and our goal is, to grow to your state too. We got to get it right here in New Jersey and do a really good job of it and make sure all the kids are funded that need it. And then we can move on.
Looking for technology that doesn't just keep up, but sets the pace? Meet Pam 10, a global technology services leader with 6 locations across the US, Canada, and India. From world-class talent and managed services to digital transformation and AI-driven solutions, Pam 10 helps businesses scale faster, smarter, and stronger. And here's what sets them apart. Social impact isn't an add-on. It's embedded in their mission and culture. Pam 10, technology with purpose. Visit pam10.com to learn more.
Before I move on to any other questions, Elena, Phil, did you want to say anything about the connection to AOK and what you've seen?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to piggyback off of what Nick was saying and say, what you're doing is really creating a community. And you're creating a community that's very inclusive and showing that it's not just for people with money. It's not just for the white collar and the blue collar. Everybody could be a part of the music community. And that's a huge, the arts community in general, right? I mean, like we were saying before, where, we all come from backgrounds where, we've taken lessons as kids. I used to run home and with my dual cassette player make mixtapes. I mean, it doesn't cost $1 million to be part of this community, and spreading that word and showing that you could be a part of this community and, not have to be wealthy and, you could still be supported is huge.
My friend Catherine Curry Williams wrote a book called Philanthropy on a Shoestring, and it's about giving $1.40 a day and how much that can actually help all of us. I mean, I have my Starbucks coffee, right? So all of us who go out and buy a Starbucks or a Dunkin' or whatever your choice is, $1.40 is way less. Where can you get anything for $1.40? And she talks about creating a community that if each one of us just gave $1.40 to a cause, a day, how much it could actually help someone. So, I definitely plug her book because, like Elena said, whether you are a millionaire or not a millionaire, you still can make a difference. And for us, we say, give up a cup of coffee a week, and that can help a child so much. Just 50 to 80 to $150 can help a child for a month. So a month of lessons. Can you imagine? That's nothing compared to how much if you buy one Starbucks a day. Phil, I know you probably have something you want to add there too as well.
Well, I mean, we've been touching on the word community, and I don't think we give enough credit to the community that the young people are now immersed in. We talk about the community that kind of surrounds them, but when we talk about, I think Nick had mentioned it or Chris had said, to be coming to your kid and say, listen, we can't make this happen. There's that feeling of exclusion. The fact that you two have created a system, created a program where a young person now gets to immerse themselves in music. They're immersing themselves in a community. They now find themselves with a group of people that, are speaking a rhythmic language, in some of the work I've been doing on the side with the promotions. And, Melissa has pointed out a kid who might be sponsored or someone who was sponsored and now has been able to find their way. You don't know the one kid to the next. They're all together. It is this beautiful just community for each other as children, as young people. So to find your people at a young age is a beautiful thing. And I think that speaks to another side that I've seen from my youth and family service work days when I first got out of college. I was working with young men who were about 2 steps away from juvenile detention. And this was kind of one of their last stops at the school I was at. I was in recreation, and part of recreation was sports, camping, giving them outlets, to have good coping skills and being with other kids. But music was another big one. And you could see where a young man who just didn't have an outlet to be creative, to be able to express himself without being violent or cursing up a teacher, and this was a place now where they had an outlet to express themselves, to find a way to, probably as we've learned more about mental health, to be able to have an outlet to have a healthier state of mind. And so there's so many aspects of the communal side of human beings being together and the mental health aspects of that. So not only are you finding the creative outlet to speak, you're also speaking and being part of a clan, of a group. You're finding your people. And so that is something that I don't know if we necessarily touch on enough outside of finding, we've joked around like finding your rhythm in life. You're finding your people in life. And I think there's a whole other layer that is so important, that it's just a wonderful baked in part of the mission. So that's just
Bill, I think that like you're spot on with that. And it's one of the things that I was going to bring up too is we don't talk about the mental health aspect, right? I think that that's absolutely huge. Music is people's therapy. Dance is people's therapy. It's an outlet, and it does more for the mental health than anything.
I know I'm in a good mental state when I'm karaokeing to my steering wheel. God knows, So sometimes it's just the shaking of the body and letting it all out, with your voice, or, throwing air, hail to the brass, throwing air through that trumpet.
Belting at the top of your lungs.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I know for me, like I pick a theme song, right? So like that's my song. That's my go-to song when I need to be pumped up, right? And that I blast it in the car while I'm driving to a meeting or wherever I'm going. And I always, whenever I go out and I speak, I say, what is your theme song for yourself, personally for yourself? Because it does something to you, right? There's a connection, there's a body line, it changes your body chemistry even. So we all know how much music may give to us. Now it's how do we continue to do and live our mission? And as you said, Phil, because of the fact that you are our branding expert here, you're taking notes, right, on all these things we're sharing, because now we have to change all this branding that we just talked about. So we
You know,
have two. Yes, go
sorry, I
ahead.
just wanted to touch on something going back to the mental health portion of this. We've had a student who unfortunately, was going through a really rough time and, tried unfortunately to commit suicide. When they came out of the hospital and they were, trying to get back to life, the first thing they asked to do was go back to their music lessons. That was where they found connection. That was 100% where the mom called me and said she's not allowed to go back to school yet. She hasn't been cleared, but would you clear her to go back to her music lessons? Because that's where she feels alive. And so we made that happen and made sure, the studio and the teachers were all aware of what was going on, but for safety reasons. But the connection was something that kept her going. And I just wanted to touch on that because, we don't talk enough about the mental health part of it, but it really does make a difference to children as well as us adults, obviously, with our theme songs and other things. But that's something really that, we need to drive home to, just because that mental health side for children is so much different than it is for children.
I think that, the one thing I'll just mention real quick is that our very first showcase, because once a year we hold two events a year. We hold one event I'm going to talk about in a minute, which is on March 19th. So for those who are listening, who want to be a part of it, we hope you'll be part of it, even though this is going to outlast the March 19th date. There's always an event that you can connect with us on. So you can always go to applaudourkids.org and check us out and see what's going on. But we hold a showcase where we bring all the kids who we fund to perform in front of our donors, our sponsors, and the community. Because seeing your dollars at work is not often that you can give to an organization and you can look in the faces and the eyes and see that connection and that smile. Well, our very first showcase in our very first year, there was a 7-year-old little girl whose mom was in jail. She was with her dad and her grandma, and she went to go wake up her father, and he overdosed the night before on heroin. And she was the one who found him. And we get the phone call in the parking lot of where the showcase is being held. And the grandmother is crying. She had just lost her son. And in the very, very background is the little girl saying, please tell Jody and Melissa, don't take my dance classes away. It's all I have left. She's 7. She's 7. So I don't know. It's hard. And it's hard to put into words what the arts does, because we know when somebody's hungry and somebody's homeless, the importance of making sure that we nourish them and we protect them with shelter. But for those who need a family outside of the family they are living with, this is the home for them too. And I just want to make sure that we drive that home to the listeners out there, because as everybody shared, there's another aspect. Each of you came up with a different aspect of what we do and what we provide. And it is not just music, funding for music lessons. And I will say this too, is that we don't give the family the money to go take the music lessons. Melissa works extremely hard to find the performing arts studios local to the homes that are going to be the right fit for the student, and we pay the studio monthly. It is an administrative nightmare, but it works out perfectly for the children in the program because it's very personalized. So I don't want to I didn't mean to bring us down in this moment, but I don't know how best else to drive home the importance of what we do. And I think that I saw all of your faces, and I know that that people don't realize that there are so many of these stories out there. These are 3 stories we just shared. Out of how many, Melissa, have we had?
Hundreds. There's hundreds.
that we, you want to share them. We have to keep everything confidential, of course, but we've seen a lot, and we've seen a lot of happiness, a ton of it after they take their lessons. So let's talk about a happy event coming up. We have the Step into the Spotlight soiree and talent competition coming up, and we have 3 of our judges, our celebrity judges, here with us on this, who are a part of the advisory committee because they are in the business. And then Phil,
Chris has his email address on the video so he can be bribed. I don't like this.
First of all, that's
Don't like
not
it.
even the same email address that's attached to my Venmo. I'll supply that at the end of the show. That one is for business in case anybody's overly talented.
That's great.
Demo submissions right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh boy, your inbox. Wait for that to happen. And Phil gets us branded out there. So this is great to have all of you here. There's 3. There's more judges. We have judges from TV, film, Broadway, and the music industry. So let me explain the event real quick, and then Melissa, I want you to share, and we'll throw it out to everybody. So this event is to bring the adults, talented adults, that are hidden or not hidden. You can be a professional performer or you could be an amateur. But the key is to come out and perform. We only pick 10 people to come out and perform in front of celebrity judges. You have to have a talent, but it's all in fun. The judges do score, and there's an audience choice vote, and it's just a fun night. Melissa, do you want to share more about the evening? There's so much to share about it.
So there's music from the moment you walk in, with kids playing music from our performance group, to then the contestants who have so much fun coming out and just inspiring us all with their own stories and their talent. And then we have a DJ and we play music. The whole event is not a stuffy, boring, nonprofit event. It is so much fun. It is based on giving children a voice, bringing confidence to those who might not have it otherwise. And it is just so enlightening to see everyone come together for the love of the performing arts. When you get a bunch of people in the room who are all there for the same goal and the same mission, it's exciting. It's electric. It feels like you're changing the world just in a venue that, holds 200 people, but it really does feel like there is nothing else outside that room for that day. It feels so amazing. And from the contestants to performing and, the Audience Choice Award, which is $5 just to vote for your favorite contestant, those things will have a mission moment for, us to be able to raise money. We'll have 50-50, we'll have an auction. Those things, every dollar that is made that day helps to fund another student to walk through the doors of a studio in their area to either dance, sing, act, take an instrumental music lesson. It's exciting for them. It's exciting for us to see the kids. We have kids who are funded that come to the event, and they get to see people like Nick, like Elena, like Chris, who are in the industry, and they get to look at them as mentors and see where their trajectory can go. So it's not just about what happens in that moment, it's about where they can see their futures. So the event has so many layers, but the biggest layer is obviously the mission and the excitement of the night. Just the contestants are so amazing, and just being in the room is electric. Like I said, it's not something you want to miss. If you love the arts, it's not something you want to miss.
And we have dinner and an open bar, and do you all have your
Also,
denim
just
and
the extras.
Yeah, exactly, right? And do you all have your denim and diamond wear? Because that's the theme this year. So a little bit of denim and a little bit of sparkle. So I can't wait to see everybody's outfits. Every year we have had a different theme, and people really get into it, and it's a lot of fun.
A heartfelt thank you to our Today is the Day Live It book launch supporter sponsors who truly believe in the importance of connection and sharing their journeys to help others along theirs. Hearts of Gold Inc., Mohan Group LLC, and Life Reinvention Now with Charlene Gorzella. To all of our sponsors, thank you for believing that connection is what drives real impact and for helping us bring these changemaker stories to life. To learn more, go to todayisthedayliveit.com/live it.
Who wants to share anything about this event? You've all been there.
Yeah, it's an amazing event. you guys do a wonderful job putting it together, and I know like the venues are always amazing. This is the first time at this venue, is that right?
Yes.
And I know you leveled it up quite a bit. But what can people look forward to besides the performances, which are all great? Obviously, we're biased, but they are legitimately good performers. The auction is amazing. There's some amazing items there. Everything from autograph stuff to vacations to restaurant gift certificates. One of my favorites is the wine pull. I have a few bottles from that. I usually justify it by saying they're going to be gifts. They're never gifts. They never leave this house, ever. And yeah, it's good company. Everybody that's there, it's kind of like a who's who of everybody from music industry folks to local businesses, and of course some wonderful families that are great to get insight on AOK from.
Absolutely. And we also, I should mention, we also have our Rockin' and Rollin' Cultivator of Creativity Award recipient here. Nick has received this in the past, and Phil is receiving it for 2025 because we didn't have our showcase event last year. So we have our judges and our Rockin' and Rollin' award winner here at the same time. So Levotes and Phil will be honored that evening. So that'll be super fun. Any other thoughts about the evening that anyone wants to share?
I'm looking forward to, seeing all the performances and also the kids that perform, before the actual contestants actually perform. I mean, those are always fun too. I can remember a number of times just socially talking, grabbing a drink, doing whatever, and then turning my head because there's some 6-year-old that's just got these pipes and doing some Adele cover, and everybody's just turning like, who is this? Who is this little girl?
Gotta like look over people to see that
Yeah.
she's like 4 feet tall.
And it's so subtle because it's kind of in the background, but then everybody all of a sudden turns their head and they're like, what? Where did this come from? So yeah, all around great event. Can't wait for it. It's I'm sure it'll be a great time as always, and it's a great venue. I've been there before. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
Thank you.
And the talent that comes out for the talent competition is always so good. It's like I get ready to put on my inner Paula Abdul. I just love everybody because they're just so good.
It's also a great excuse too for after it's over, in the coming weeks after it's over, it's always a great excuse to say, hey Nick, what are you doing today? I feel like coming over. Do you have any wine? Because usually he's got a nice stash. So that's always a benefit.
We know where we're all going.
Right.
Yeah, great.
That's fine.
Party at the Ditri's.
I love that. But I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because that also is something else. We've had a couple of actual people get picked up for management. One of our, actually one that was we had a Zoom during COVID. We had a Zoom soiree. And that we had one of the actors, he was a singer actor, got picked up, and he's now been in multiple shows. I know that others have been picked up as well. So it's not only just a fun thing, there is potential. And I also do get the winner on 92.7 WOBM to talk on the radio for a few minutes. So it's nice. There's a small cash prize. Everybody gets a beautiful trophy for the first and second prize winner. And audience choice votes are open right now. So if you want to see who some of the contestants are, you can go to applaudourkids.org and check that out also. So anything else, Phil, before I head on to ask you guys the last question?
I know, just being my first time last year, I was, the talent just blew you away because you see these folks and they may not have the stage presence because it's not something they do every day, but they just wow you. They put their heart and soul into it because they know what they're doing it for. And so the performances are incredible. But then looking at the celebrity dais, you guys, you're all titans in your own right, in your own vein of music and performing arts. To see someone from Broadway, to see somebody who's been on television and movies, and even for folks who are carving out their own in the sense of affecting the lives of kids in music programs, throughout our schools and our programs in New Jersey. It's just. It is a venerable who's who on that dais, and to be on, this podcast with the three of you, knowing what you guys do on a daily basis is just awesome. And to be following in Nick's footsteps as the Rock and Roll Cultivator Award winner, I don't hold a candle to you, good sir. I appreciate it, the honor, and to be on the same stage with Lavotes for all they've done and continue to do for the community and do for Applaud Our Kids. It's just to be in that same company is awesome. So I'm grateful and humble for the honor, but really it's about the kids. Why are we all
Deserve
coming
it,
together?
sir. Look at that hair. I mean, the hair alone looks fantastic.
Thank you. I can't sing, but the hair will stand up and do a
There you
piece.
go.
No, but we're all coming together for the right cause and the right reason. I think that's the best part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. So, applaudourkids.org. I can't say it enough. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, as well as check us out on our website. And then on May 17th, we have our showcase. So if you want to see and meet and get to hear the kids that we fund take the stage, we would love to have you there. Tickets are not available just yet, but that will be opening up very, very shortly. So as we are going to end, because I can't believe we're almost at an hour already, I could be on with all of you for a long time now. I would love for you, if you were speaking, and now of course we got to keep this short because we only have a few minutes. If you were going to describe in one sentence. Now, by the way, this is not pre-planned, so everybody's probably going to kill me for doing this. But in one sentence, what does Applaud Our Kids do for children in this community? What would that one sentence? I mean, if it goes over to two, I won't. There's no test here. But we'll start with. Oh goodness, you know what? My sister will kill me. I'll start with my sister, Melissa.
So, obviously, for me, I think that the biggest thing is that AOK brings confidence, it brings a voice, it brings structure and consistency to children through the arts. It allows them to feel larger than life, even if it's only for that hour a week or half hour a week. It gives them that.
See, we can't even put it in one sentence. That's the issue. That is the issue with this organization. It is so hard. We try so hard. We are wordy. If you read our things, we are wordy. We will admit it. Nick, putting you on the spot next.
Oh man, this is tough. I don't know that I could do one sentence, but I think Applaud Our Kids quite literally changes lives and the trajectory of a child's life through performing arts. I'll leave it at that.
That's great. That's great. Write this all down. Right, we got to write this all down because it's hard to just put it down in a short synopsis. Elena?
Yeah, I think Applaud Our Kids is really just all about giving these children a sense of community and belonging.
Perfect. That's beautiful. Chris?
Oh man, you saved me to the end. Everyone took all the good keywords. I think Applaud Our Kids provides funding, confidence, and an artistic outlet to fuel their creativity through passion.
Okay, we got that on tape. That's good. That
Damn,
was very good
everybody's
too.
adjectives are so strong.
You know what I mean?
Buzzwords.
You gotta just find the ones that haven't been used yet.
All right, Phil. Now they're all gone now, but I know you'll come up with something good.
AOK, Applaud Our Kids helps young people find the rhythm in their lives. I've been saying that for a while, and I think it's just in all aspects. It helps
This
them
guy.
find the
A
rhythm of their
10.
lives.
A 10, Phil. Right in time for the end of the Olympics. That's the scorecard of a 10.
You know what I love is we nobody got questions beforehand. This is all off the cuff for those who are listening. And so I appreciate all of you for just kind of being on this ride and having fun with us here today, And also we couldn't be more grateful for you joining us on this journey. We can't do it alone. And the kids are grateful, believe you me. And as they grow up, they'll be knocking on your door, Chris, Elena, and Nick, as they go through. So get ready. That email address is going to get utilized a lot now that Nick pointed it out. So you can blame
So
him.
sorry.
Guess I gotta attach my Venmo to this one now.
Jody, really quick, I know you mentioned sponsors, but if there are folks who have businesses that listen, roundups technically cost you nothing. If you choose to pile on the roundup, you're more than welcome to, but as a business owner, roundups are passed along to your customers, and it's a huge driver for AOK. So if you want to offer that, hit us up. You know where to go. applaudourkids.org.
Thank you, Nick. I love that. We're just going to have you do a commercial. That was great. We'll take that out. We'll take that little part out. Phil, I'm going to give you that part if you don't mind. Let's get that little commercial out for us. But
Do it.
yes,
Let's
yes,
do it.
go ahead. Yeah, that's good. Roundups are great. Sponsors are great. And also, I should mention one last thing. If you want to ongoingly fund a child per month, every month, we can do that too, right, Melissa? So that we can set that up.
Yes,
Do you
they
want?
can just, reach out, so they can actually reach out to me, Melissa at applaudourkids.org, and they can, let us know who they'd like to sponsor. We've had people who only want to sponsor a dancer or only want to sponsor, an instrumentalist. We can do that. We can set it up for them to meet the child or, receive a letter from the child, letting them know, how they're excelling, how they're advancing, how things are going, and they can have that communication. So it's not just, an exchange of funds. It can actually be, a community relationship that, can help the child with longevity going forward. So, and like you said, we can fund children for up to 11 years. So a family, a corporation, they can fund that child for that long as they still are with us. So they really can change the trajectory of a child's life.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm so grateful. Nick, Phil, Elena, Chris, and Melissa stuck with me in this. So she can't go anywhere. But thank you so much to all of you for everything that you do. Looking so forward to seeing you all in your glam on the blue carpet come the Denim and Diamonds event coming up on March 19th. But if you're listening to this after March 19th, we're here and we're doing everything we can to help children connect with the performing arts outlet. I'm going to say what I say at the end of every single podcast. Today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what steps, small or large, are you going to take today to get yourself closer to your goals? Thanks, everyone.
Thank
It's so great to
you.
see you. You're
Thank you.
welcome. Bye.
Bye.